Hey, this is Ben Solomon, and welcome to this episode of the Techno Leadership Show. In this episode, we are going to be going deeper into the StrengthsFinder and how you can utilize that to look at your strengths and also the downsides of those strengths and how to work with that in your career and in your life. So without much further ado, let's go into the screen here and I'll walk you through the process, and I'll also walk you through my results and how they affect me when I'm doing work and also life, and how I go about things, and how the downsides can sometimes prevent me from being effective as well. So hopefully you get a good glimpse of how to utilize your results to get the most out of your strengths and avoid the downsides and weaknesses. Cool. So here we are on Gallup's website. So they have this link to the Clifton strengths page with all 34 strengths, and they've divided into 4 different dimensions: so strategic thinking, relationship building, executing, and influencing. So in this, depending on your results, you might potentially get higher in one area than the other. In my case, I believe 3 out of the top 5 are in the strategic thinking space, and then I've got 1 in the influencing space and 1 in the executing space, and none in here in the top 5. But obviously just below that, I do have a fair few of these, so which kind of helps in balancing me out as a person, I suppose. So of the 34 strengths, if you buy the full report, you get to see your strength stack, so to speak. So you have your top 5 strengths, which is where you get the highest leverage, and then you have your other strengths which diminish as you go down, and the lowest ones are the ones that you least depend on a normal basis, but consciously, obviously, you can build skills. As I've said in previous videos, this does not define you. It just gives you an opportunity to leverage your strengths and build skills that will mitigate your weaknesses. That's pretty much it. So yeah, here we go. So that's where, so you can click on each of these and actually go through them and get a feel for each of those, and I'll do that with mine so that you can see exactly how I go about it, how I think about it, and how I've been able to utilize it. So I'll go to this one here. So this is my top 5 strengths that came out of StrengthsFinder. And did it a few years ago. So learner is my top strength, followed by futuristic and ideation, and then significance and focus. So as you see here, learner, futuristic, and ideation are in the strategic thinking side. There's nothing in the top 5 in this. And then in influencing, the significance, and in executing, focus was my strength in the top 5 stack. So I'll walk you through this whole thing. So if you're a manager with learner, this thing, so the manager report has a bit more. I haven't done the manager report yet. I've done a whole lot of other ones which I'm happy with. If you're in a management position or going into management position, and if you'd like to do it, feel free to. I haven't done it yet, and potentially might do it in the future. So oh yeah, so it talks about how to use the learner thing to succeed. So working with learner, how to work with the learner, how to lead a learner, and how to live with the learner. So pretty much your life. If you're in a leadership position, how to work with people who are high-end learners, and then working with learners. So that gives you multiple perspectives of it and how to apply in your life and succeed. Similarly, this is futuristic, so the video usually has a little bit of a summary of sorts, and then so futuristic people usually are looking at the future, as the name suggests. So it has a tendency to be a dreamer, looks at the ideal end result, and has a potential to kind of work backwards from there, which has served me so well in my management and leadership positions, but also in my tech positions, because I was fortunate in a lot of sense that even though in my career, I was working in what you would consider lower level technical positions, I still was either a one-man department or had leaders who let me have autonomy, which meant that I pretty much could envision the end result that wanted. I was free to put in business cases, do all that sort of thing, which also up-leveled my game pretty early on in my career, and was able to get to that vision in 3 years, 2 years, whatever the time frame was at that stage. So yeah, futuristic, that's there again. It gives you enough information on how to work with someone who's futuristic, how to lead someone who's futuristic, and how to live with someone who's futuristic. So even in your personal life, your spouse, your family members that you care about, you might want to ask them to do this, and so you can communicate better with them. You can find better ways to interact and create a great life together. My third strength in that stack is ideation. Again, it's in the strategic side, again thinking more about ideas, coming up with new ideas and connection, which again is fed by my learner. The learner being so high in the stack means I'm consistently learning, consistently reading about things from multiple industries, from across the board, and in various areas, which means when I go into any role that is strategic, I'm looking at the holistic picture of the business. And again, I was fortunate to have worked in multiple industries and supported clients in multiple industries, which means I've been able to see how those industries and how those businesses work, which brings in that collective connectedness to be able to create ideas that actually are beneficial. So these are all the positives. I'll talk about the negatives in a little minute, but with every strength comes an Achilles heel. I'll talk about that very soon. But so that's the ideation thing, and it's really well fed by these two being learner and futuristic being above it. If it is the other way around, I don't know how that'll work, because the thing is, based on what Gallup and Clifton say, each of those adds an exponential scale. It's kind of like the Richter scale, where Richter 1 is 1, and then Richter 2 is 10 times the strength of Richter 1, and there on, so on and so forth. So significance is my next one after that. So definition of significance, again, wanting to make a big impact, having autonomy, which is independence and prioritized projects and all that sort of thing. And again, it has an explanation on how to work, how to lead, how to live. And the last one in my stack is, or the top 5 of my stack, is focus, and which is very handy because these 3 have the likelihood to take you into too many directions. And they do, because as a learner, I'm looking at all these various areas, but then the focus kind of funnels everything together into something that creates value. Like this whole series that I'm doing on YouTube for technical leadership, it's kind of funneling all these other areas that I've learned, all these other areas that have benefited me, all these areas that have consciously been able to look at and bring it together into something that's valuable for you to be able to look into, utilize, and do the same sort of thing without having to do the years and years of research and work that has gone into it to come to this point. So yeah, anyways, that's focus, being able to, focus all the efforts into what's most important. And again, how to work with people, lead with that, and live with focus. Now, do I have this here? No. Here we go. So, as I said, with every strength comes a potential weakness or an Achilles heel. That's what Gallup calls balcony and basement. So balcony is where at your best, at your most value creating, as your most healthiest perspective, you're operating. Basement is when you're probably under heavy stress, when you're out of balance, and when you don't fully understand your strengths and you're trying to overcompensate, is when you live there. So as you can see here, the achiever, the balcony where they are at their best is being tireless, having super work ethic, having, leading by example, being the go-getter and being hungry. And in basement, they can be unbalanced, a brown noser just to get ahead, get overcommit and underdeliver, and doesn't have the capacity to say no because they just don't know how to prioritize, and burns candle at both ends, and too focused at work that everything else falls apart. That's one of the things. If you do a Google search for the balcony basement strengths handout, you'll be able to find it on Gallup's website, and if I can get a link, I'll put that in as well. And as you can see, various ones: context, deliberative, developer. But as you can see in my ones here, it's easier for me to speak with that because I know what I've put into place for each of these. At my highest as a focused person, to the point, disciplined, purposeful, laser-like precision, identifies important areas quickly, goal setter and goal getter. So in my leadership positions, I had the ability to bring all of the information, all the things that I've synthesized over years and years of work, and then utilize this focusing ability to set goals that we could achieve based on the constraints and all that things that we had in place, budgetary constraints, project constraints, all of that thing. But at the same time, if I had not been conscious, it is very easy for me to have gotten too absorbed in the details and find it difficult to relax, which can happen even now at times, and get over intense, which could have caused stress for my staff and get stressed myself as well. So I was able to, for a large extent, avoid these two, but this one, I do always have to work on, finding ways to relax regardless of wanting to feel, all these, the intensity to do things. So that's focus. Futuristic, you might think, this person's, whoever's got futuristic is got it all given, they're visionaries, all that sort of thing. Yes, that's the positive side of things. So you have the imaginative, creative, visionary person. But on the other side, if they go too far away from pragmatism, it can end up being a dreamer on a fantasy island somewhere and can't even, bring it into a pragmatic sense that you can actually implement something. You'll have something that's so far away that there's no way you can reach the bridge between where you are and where that vision is almost impossible to bridge. So that's the negative. So me as a person who has that futuristic capability has to be ultra conscious and especially because it's higher in my stack, I have to be ultra conscious to not get stuck in that super high level visionary stuff without considering current reality. And very recently, I've actually come across the work of someone by the name Robert Fritz, and he talks about structural tension, and it's actually become more clearer on why you need to have not too far a distance, because that is going to be difficult to bridge and can become a negative because you can't inspire other people to work with you to achieve that vision. But at the same time, if it's at a definitive level where it's a bit challenging, but at the same time it's something that you can see and your team can see, it's easy enough to sort of set that vision and your current reality, and then you can work towards that as a cohesive unit. So there's things to be aware of. And let's see. Yeah, learner. That's my top highest thing. And as you can see, yes, it looks fantastic up here at the balcony level. You know, you catch on quickly. I've been able to do that throughout my life, which is fantastic. And interested in many things that brings in value to the businesses that I work for in multiple ways. See things that most people might not see because of the connections that I can make outside of the core industry stuff that I do. But on the other side, I have a tendency to come off as know-it-all, and I try my hardest not to come off like that because I've learned so much, I've experimented so much, I've tested so much. It can come across quite easily as being a know-it-all, and I've got to work really hard not to come off as a know-it-all, because the moment you start coming off as a know-it-all, people can't dismiss you even if there is value that you can add to their lives. And then you have lack of focus, because that does take me on tangents sometimes. And so I've got to be very careful to use my focus to keep my learning focused. And then, yeah, learns a lot, produces little. This is something I've struggled with for years, and it's not an easy one to, move out of, because this natural tendency to want to learn means I've got thousands of books. I've got courses up the wazoo on various different things. And, to produce results, I've got to then distill all that and put it into use. And that's where, this channel is an effort to bring all that value into a distilled form that can be usable and useful for other people, while also being able to get everything out of my head into something that's more tangible. So as you can see, there's enough in there to give you an understanding of how you can use your strengths and how to avoid falling into these basement areas which could inhibit you from growing. So that's the StrengthsFinder's test, and its positives, its negatives. And based on that, you can utilize this in your work, if you're in a leadership position already, then in your leadership and how you lead, plus also how your team members want to be led. When you're working with their highest strengths, when you're delegating the right jobs, the right projects based on their strengths, they find fulfillment at work. And when you're working with your strengths, you find fulfillment at work. And when you're living from your strengths, even outside of work, you find fulfillment in life. And a lot of us who come into this technology and engineering arena have this tendency to want to do it all ourselves. But understanding that everyone has a different array of strengths means it allows us the freedom to say, I do not have to do everything myself. I can get my team members to actually do parts of it, and we can all work together as a cohesive unit to achieve results. So hopefully that's helped you out, and it's given you a bit of an understanding of how to use your StrengthsFinder result to get the most out of it for your life and your career. And if you liked this episode, please do subscribe to the channel, and I'll be continuing to produce more of these videos. And if you have any questions, if you have areas that you'd like me to cover, please do leave me a comment and let me know so that I can cover those areas. And I'm starting to get the website and everything set up, technoleadership.org, to have an area, a base, so to speak, for everyone to come and get value out of. And please do hit subscribe, and wish you all the best in your career and life. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.